Okay, yeah, let's start. Agenda for today. As I already said, and as it was advertised, we will be talking about a distributed cloud cost ownership concept and framework today, which is a very, very interesting topic and very impactful for FinOps and cloud cost management practice. And it is not just myself. Just very quickly, I'm Ilia Semenov from Cloudthread. So it's not just myself, it's also Vitaly Belyasov together with me today, who is an expert practitioner the person who has actually implemented distributed cloud cost ownership at his organization. And yeah, we will be discussing this, this topic in great detail. We started about like 12 minutes later than scheduled. Sorry for that, but the original timing and time box was like 1 hour with the additional time baked in. So this is the content, for about like 45 minutes, plus minus. And you can see the agenda. We will first introduce ourselves in more detail. Then we will discuss what distributed cloud cost ownership, or DCCO, is, the concept, why it is important. Then Vitaly will share his, success story, which is very eventful and interesting, I think. Then we will look into implementation and tools, actually how you implement something like this at your organization. And at the end, we will have like some discussion and we can answer any questions you have, and you can use the chat for that. Okay, let's now move to the intros. Vitaly, want to start?
Sure. My name is Vitaly Belyasov. I'm leading FinOps at Align Technology. Align Technology is a medical device company. Invisalign is our main product. Probably many of you are familiar with that. But we are not only doing the Invisalign, we are also enabling doctors with a digital platform that is kind of supporting them at every step of the process, and providing capabilities such as treatment planning, case visualization, and many more. So we have a really diverse cloud kind of a public cloud use case. Yeah, I mean, I've been with the company for close to 6 years now. Started the FinOps function from scratch and seen how this function evolving over time. Now we're at the stage where we're having this DCCO implemented. Cloudthread is helping us with the tooling, but we've been through some kind of a significant transformation in order to get there, and I'll share later what are the key kind of outcomes that we have, and how it's been really kind of helpful for us.
Yeah, thank you, Vitaly. Really, really great to have you today. And we'll do short intro for myself. I'm Ilia Semenov. I'm co-founder and chief product officer of Cloudthread. And Cloudthread is focused on building a solution that actually enables distributed cloud cost ownership and, essentially solves the broken workflows issue that exists at many organizations that have centralized FinOps team and many engineering team to engage with. That engagement piece is something that we really, really focused on. Before Cloudthread, I used to run cloud cost management at Electronic Arts, and also used to do the same at Lyft. Cool. I think now we can move to actual topic. Let's start with what distributed cloud cost ownership is. And first, I will give like my understanding, which is on the slide, and Vitaly, then you can contribute and actually correct me, if I said something, not exactly right, or you have like other points, to make. Essentially, distributed cloud cost ownership problem is a framework that enables centralized FinOps team to drive usage and sometimes rate optimization initiatives much more efficient by engaging engineering teams, right, into this process without the pains that usually associated with that engagement. So essentially, it structures that workflow that exists between FinOps team and engineering team. So how it looks like. There is a centralized FinOps team first and foremost, right? So we're starting with this kind of like FinOps framework, as you know, as it is established by FinOps Foundation, where there should be centralized FinOps function. And that centralized FinOps team, it discovers optimization opportunities. You know, the goal is to make cloud spend as optimal as possible, right, and as efficient as possible. So centralized FinOps team discovers those optimization opportunities. Then that team sends those opportunities to engineering teams. And I mentioned specifically usage optimization because engineering teams are mostly involved in anything that touches usage optimization, right? It's just like that's something that touches actual workloads. For rate optimization, it depends on the organization. In many cases, FinOps team can do it just by themselves, right? By analyzing the capacity and just like reserving it. So the next step, right, in this distributed cloud cost ownership model, or not even step, a layer, right, is the layer of cloud cost owners. And this is like the key here. Essentially, each engineering team in an organization gets a virtual role of cloud cost owner. It can be, it can be an engineer, a tech lead, a product manager, but somebody who is really embedded into the team and familiar with its workflows. That cloud cost owner gets that communication from FinOps team, and FinOps team communicates only with that person within each team. So the cloud cost owner accepts optimization opportunities from FinOps, and then what he does, he analyzes those opportunities and sends the ones that are, relevant directly into engineering sprints. And that person has an authority to actually put certain items into engineering sprints without usual conflicts with like product workload that exists if you outside of this distributed cloud cost ownership model. Another very important piece that those cloud cost owners are actually have KPIs on cost savings for their team. So they are, responsible for driving, that cost saving motion for their engineering team. And finally, the kind of like final bottom layer here are the engineers who actually get those optimization opportunities, from cloud cost owners into the sprints as like the tickets and, go and implement that. And then there is a cycle where, communication goes back and savings are reported all the way to FinOps team and further to the leadership. I think it will be better to show it, on the diagram, and we will do it in a second. Vitaly, tell me if something important is missing here.
No, it's actually perfectly defined here, and we implemented this approach at Align probably a year ago, and we started to see the progress, and I could share some more details later on. But yeah, I mean, I think overall the concept is pretty much described here on the slide.
Yeah, thank you, Vitaly. I want to note like one thing. So on this slide, it might seem that it's just like very obvious and logical. However, the thing that I've been noticing a lot is that this middle layer of cloud cost owners simply does not exist in many companies. And that's like the key. The major part about distributed cloud cost ownership is this middle layer, is actually getting buy-in from the leadership and assigning this virtual role into engineering teams, because that is usually an obstacle, towards good communication between FinOps and engineers. And this is the reason why, number one problem in cloud cost management, right, as according to FinOps Foundation surveys, is taking engineers to action. Essentially, the organizational structure is broken from the first place. And this is an attempt to fix it. And, there is evidence, in the face of Vitaly that this works. So actually, let's look at the diagram here. I think it will make it much more, visual, right? And much easier to understand how it all works. So the first layer we have here, actually, in general, high level, we have two worlds. We have FinOps, right, and engineering. So, and, communication between those, right? And FinOps is represented by centralized FinOps team. So that team identifies, that team is owning the process of cloud cost management, and is measured by, in many cases, by cost savings, right? If organization is in the run stage, there might be things like unit metrics, efficiency, all those things, right? There might be many flavors, but at the end, in many cases, it's still like tied to cost savings and how much inefficiency was eliminated, in a month, in a quarter, whatever reporting period is. So that team is really working hard, and I've been part of that team like many years, so I can, and Vitaly is right now, right? So I know how hard this work is to actually identify the opportunities to save money, to make things more efficient. But, especially nowadays, there are like so many sources of data, for optimization opportunity discovery. There is a great tooling on cloud provider side, right? Like Google, Recommender, I don't know, like AWS Compute Optimizer, Trust Advisor, Cost Explorer, all those things are getting better and better. And they all give you like a lot of data, and pointers like where you can optimize what. So that piece is not as big of a problem anymore. And also there are a lot of cloud cost management tools out there, right, that give you like very great ideas and items, on what you can optimize. But the hardest part, and it was true for like all the years, of my, FinOps practitioner journey, the hardest part is actually to take those optimization tasks and deliver them to like another world, to engineering, right? And a big organizations, and, Align is a very big organization, Electronic Arts, Lyft, all of them were like really big. There were many engineering teams, many stakeholders, many people to engage, and that was a pain. You have a lot of things to optimize, but then you need to deliver those insights to engineering teams. And then you need to actually track the completion. You need to, nag them, chase them. They hate it. They never have time, they building the product, they growing on all that. So that's where, the big problem lies, right? And, within distributed cloud cost ownership, as, I was just saying, like a couple of minutes ago, we have this layer of cloud cost owners. So, and all the communication from centralized FinOps team goes into those like cloud cost owners within each team who are KPI'd on cost savings. And they, in their turn, actually communicating with engineers who implement stuff, and they are sharing like important context with the engineers, like resolving some like issues that can be resolved within engineering, kind of like things like, hey, like this underutilized instances are underutilized for a reason. We just, like made them over provisioned because of X. Usually this conversation happens between an engineer and FinOps person and ends. But if it happens between like a team lead and an engineer, it can end very differently, right? Team lead can say that, no, that is bad design. You need to do it differently. And that's one of many reasons why this model becomes like very efficient at the end. And you see like here a lot of logos, and those are logos of the tools of communication. So FinOps team communicates with cloud cost owners usually through like Jira, like ServiceNow, essentially project management tools, right? But also the communication can happen through Slack, Microsoft Teams, email, like whatever. The key that there are like much fewer stakeholders for this communication. And it's like much more manageable for FinOps practitioners. And cloud cost owners are communicating with engineers through the usual engineering project management systems. It can be like Jira, it can be linear, it can be like ServiceNow, it can be whatever, but they are kind of like living in their world, and that communication is much more streamlined for them. Things are going directly into sprints, and cost owners know everything about those sprints, unlike the FinOps people. And then the information goes back. Engineers implement things, or share reasons why things are not implemented. Communication happens between cloud cost owners and engineers in that context. Then final results are shared back to centralized FinOps team, and hopefully the final results are savings. And then it's great. FinOps team can report those savings into the leadership team. Sometimes it's the reasons why things are not implemented, which are also very important. And today, in most cases, it's like a big pain to track. It's like distributed through all those communication channels that exist. So in this process, it's like much more centralized. So cloud cost owners, they are responsible for those optimization tasks that they were like sent to them. So they share back to FinOps team like very vetted, and very defined reasons why certain things were not implemented and savings were not realized. And like at the end, every stakeholder and actor in this diagram feels happy, at least like happier than before, when there is no this like middle layer of cloud cost owners. Vitaly, do you want to add something to this?
Yeah, I mean, you described the scheme very well. I can start sharing our story so that make it more kind of to give some context. Unless there's a next slide that you want to kick off first before I.
Yeah, I mean, let's very quickly say why this distributed cloud cost ownership is important, and I already touched on it while describing the diagram. But here is a summary, like what problems, what pains distributed cloud cost ownership setup is solving. For FinOps, it's solving the pain to chase engineers on usage optimization, and there is a real pain. There are too many people, too many channels, things are getting lost, people are unhappy with you, like chasing them. It's terrible. It's like a lot of time is getting lost. It's not a pleasant process. Everybody knows, every FinOps practitioner out there knows about this problem. Then there is a pain to track savings and reasons of inaction. In many cases, tracking savings is actually like a bigger focus for people, so they kind of like solve it with like Excel spreadsheets, like whatever. But reasons of inaction, that might be like and usually is a very big pain, because at the end, when you report to leadership, they ask like why certain things were not done, and you need to go and bring up email threads, Slack threads, and just like tell people that yes, I talked to that engineer, he said this, then another engineer said that. So this is like a big mess. Then there is a pain to report optimization results to leadership. Essentially, that's coming from the previous item, and the very big pain to motivate engineers for continuous action when there is no middle layer of distributed cloud cost owners. That motivation is entirely on like shoulders of FinOps practitioners, and that's not a fair setup. Actually, it's like very difficult to motivate engineers, right? In that setting. So for engineers, distributed cloud cost ownership is solving the pain to fit optimization tasks into the sprints. And I think every engineer is, and I also used to be an engineer actually at Lyft before I started building Lyft's cloud cost management system. And yeah, I mean, whenever somebody comes to you from a different team and says that, hey, here is a task you need to start working on right now, you were unhappy and probably say no because you have your sprint full of tasks that you have to be doing in this week, building a product essentially. So this is something that FinOps practitioners are fighting against, and they try to get leadership buy-in, they try to get engineering sponsors. And if you don't have a nice process or a nice framework like distributed cloud cost ownership, then it becomes a big pain. And this is the pain for engineers and for FinOps practitioners, right? And the second pain for engineers specifically is the pain to explain why certain things cannot be done. And in many cases, it's coming from the fact that FinOps practitioners are not engineers in many cases, right? And when you tell them that something cannot be done, they might be either saying okay, I'm going back, or just trying to chase you more and more. But when you have that middle layer of cloud cost owners from your engineering team, then that conversation becomes much easier and this pain goes away. So now, Vitaly, your turn. Tell us about your story. And I know that it's really, really great.
Yeah, so I mean, let me start from how we get there. So essentially, we started with implementing FinOps, it was just me, and I started as a cloud analyst, and there was a pretty simple task to solve, just go and figure out what's happening with our cloud costs. And I was started looking into the internet. Eventually I bumped into the FinOps Cloud FinOps book, read it, love it. We started to implement it, and even before that, some of the steps were pretty much straightforward. You basically get the visibility into what is happening inside your cloud billing, trying to figure out how do you allocate it, and then you're going through the cycle with you're getting the data, you're acting on the data by optimizing, and then you're trying to do it all over again. And first couple rounds when you're first couple rounds when you're talking to engineering teams, they're most likely willing to help you because it's you have the arguments at the beginning. It's pretty straightforward, and you're still having this low-hanging fruits that showing you the big numbers. You're just saying, hey, you will delete this databases and this will save us a lot of money, and they're seeing the numbers and they're acting on it, but it's still kind of just because it's new to them. You're in the position where they are in the position actually where they they might hesitate to do that, but they're doing it just because it's it's obvious. This is we are talking about savings, and this is something that everyone understands. But if you want to, and as many of the FinOps practitioners know, this is not a one-time activity. It's more of continuous process, and you need to find a way how you will do this first at scale, and repeat it in a repetitive way, so that you'll not, and you don't need to wait till it's going to be a lot of waste generated in the cloud and then basically get engineers to clean this up. You want to build a process that will eliminate the waste, that will do the optimizations when they appear, not waiting for them to be in the backlog for 6 months. So and this is where I think we are coming to the most kind of a common problem, which is engineering take actions. But for us, it was actually 3 main problems that we had, or challenges. So first of all, it's the low engineering team engagement. Even though then the engineering teams understand that this is important, they don't have it's not part of their role. So we have some people that are just curious and willing to help, but it's not It's not like across all the organizations. So that is challenge number one. The second challenge is there is most likely lack of ownership, just because of the nature of the cloud and how it was evolving. I know that's like account structure was not recently introduced, but it's still like if you already have some legacy workloads in the cloud, it's not easy for you if you're like enterprise to move away from like a centralized account or like set of accounts to kind of a distributed or account per team model where you can actually track who owns the resources within. Or but there are also things that you need to count in, such as kind of a shared resources that can be used by multiple teams. So it's kind of a not an easy task to solve. And one of the goals for the cloud cost owners, or we call it FinOps practitioners and engineering team, was to kind of map the ownership. Like this person is responsible for this set of accounts, so that every time there is a optimization appears or waste or like anomaly, we know who to go to. Because otherwise, if it's a centralized account, you just like you'll spend a lot of time trying to figure out who actually owns this resource and who can act on this. And yeah, and the third problem was that even though there is a ownership and engineers are started to take action on some of the recommendations that centralized FinOps team is providing, it's still not like a clear priority for them. Like, how do you establish this kind of a model where engineering teams knows what you're expecting from them, and they can plan it at their own pace? Because this is where you need to carefully design the model for that will be like working in your specific case. Because for us, and everyone is busy, so we know that like engineers will have like many other things to on their table, and we don't want to be like the main time consumers. We don't want them to spend a lot of time on these activities, but we want to establish kind of a clear guidelines and clear expectations and KPIs. So we started with like we started small. We set up only like 2 KPIs for the engineering team. So like I mean like there was a lot of work that was done to kick off this initiative. As I mentioned, some of the work were more technical, like migrate from centralized accounts to like distributed account system, find the right kind of a person that will be covering that will be acting as a cloud cost owner, and like get leadership buy-in. We had many spend panic moments that actually helped us as a centralized FinOps team to kind of convince the management that this is going to happen over time. It's not the matter of like how experienced engineering team is with the cloud spend. This could happen to anyone. Cloud is not going away. We cannot we don't want this situation to happen in the future where it's something big and we are talking about like why we have a budget exceed in the middle of the year. So we want to establish a process, and this is like spend panic moments actually helped us to kind of get the leadership buy-in that we need to formalize this within engineering teams, that this is how the model will work. The kind of a centralized FinOps team, my team, is driving all the like processes and tools and streamlining it to the FinOps practitioners and engineering teams. And basically getting back to the KPIs, one of the kind of the first KPIs that we established was like the budget. And basically each cloud cost owner has his own budget, and if the budget is trending to overspend, we are kicking off the exception process where we are reviewing why this is happening. If it's happening because the service was launched kind of earlier, and and during the planning phase, let's say we plan to the release in Q4, but it actually like this feature was released in Q2. That's why the budget is going to exceed, and this is like a green light for us to go, because like this is what business wants. But from the other hand, if the budget exceeds because of some kind of a misconfiguration that happened, and or something that happened that was not planned, but it's definitely can be fixed, that we expect this engineering team to act on it. And make sure
this is the responsibility of cloud cost owner, like specific, right?
Yeah. So this is one of the responsibilities, is to review the budgets, compare like actuals versus budget. What's the for end of cycle? For us, it's annual cycle. For many teams, this could be like quarterly cycles. We're actually moving to quarterly cycles. Yeah, it's basically this person is keeping eye on like how the budget is doing, and if there's something that is kind of moving towards the over provisioning, or sorry, not the over provisioning, or exceeding the budget, then it means that this person actually needs to kind of act on this. The other KPI and the other problem that we are trying to we were trying to solve as like our wave one or release one of the DCCO was how do we make sure that engineers are eliminating waste from their cloud accounts. And again, we started small. We only identified the recommendations that like we internally called non-negotiable, meaning that it's kind of something that is really obvious and straightforward, like zero connection to the database. That means that you're not using this database, like zero connection for the database for like 14 days or more. You don't need it, just turn it off. Or like EBS volumes that are not connected. So we only had like probably around 6 checks, and what we are showing to the engineering teams is what's their potential saving is combined, and our KPI is to track that there is a progress on that. So basically, if the like total waste or total potential optimization is getting down, that means that engineering teams are actually working on this, and if it's going up, that means that nothing is happening, and we need to escalate it.
Vitaly, quick question: when you were implementing this distributed cloud cost ownership model, was there a problem to actually appoint people to be those like cloud cost owners? Because I think that those people already had like their normal like payload jobs, right? And suddenly you coming to them and saying that, hey man, you now this like virtual cloud cost owner and you have these KPIs. Was it like a struggle, or it happened like somehow like naturally? And how important was this like leadership buy-in in this process?
Yeah, so I'll start answering from from the last part. It was very important to have the leadership buy-in, because again, like we even had this before, that some teams were championing FinOps, but it was not like if you want to do it at scale. And normally you need leadership buy-in to help you to deal with like bad citizens in your organization, because champions are already doing their thing, and it's kind of it's obvious for them why it is important. Like you can help them with you can enable them with different tools, you can help them with different processes, but it's kind of they already kind of you got their buy-in. But in order to get everyone to the same kind of to the same page, you need leadership buy-in. And I think the key, so two things are important in this conversation. First thing is that we either do this and see how this will kind of help us to solve the problems that we had in the past, and you can use the data that you had before, as I was mentioning previously, like this spam panic moments are actually like good examples that you can showcase anytime, like saying like, this is the situation which we want to avoid. This is how much team A spend, or this is how much the cloud waste was, because we identified the problem, we communicated back to them, and they were not acting for like 2 months. This is how much the company paid at the end. So this is like the first really important point to have in this conversation, and data will help you with that. Second is that ideally, when we are talking about like the fully kind of a working model, it shouldn't take a lot of time, both for the engineering, for the engineering team and for the cloud cost owner, because when it's kind of a iterative process, it shouldn't be, and we already kind of did the first attempt to kind of eliminate all the waste that like you had over time. We are talking about the sprint.
Heavy lifting, right? That initial part, big cleanups, right? So it was done. And what you mean, like when it becomes the routine, actually,
Yeah.
the streamlined process, it's not like adding, like another, huge pile of
Yeah,
work.
exactly. Yeah.
Right.
The process will work smoothly if it like all these checks are happening frequently, and everyone knows what are the expectations and what are the KPIs, and they have tools to kind of navigate through these processes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And Vitaly, thank you so much for this story. I mean, it's been like quite a journey for you guys, I know. And now, like, I personally think like those like awesome results that you're getting, and talking to some of those like cost owners also like makes me like really convinced that this thing just works. Within organizations like Align, right, that have a lot of engineering teams and centralized FinOps function. And I think that maybe some of our audience today are coming from organizations like that, right? Probably this is not like the best idea for a startup, right? But it's definitely a great idea for like the streamlined like FinOps like function in bigger organizations. And like I already showing next slide here, which is covering the implementation of distributed cloud cost ownership model in an organization. And that is summarizing a lot what you, Vitaly, just described, especially this like step 0, set up the org foundation. This is the most important part here. And at the end, distributed cloud cost ownership is an organizational model at its core. You need to get leadership buy-in. Without that, you cannot create virtual cloud cost owner roles. And without that, you cannot assign KPIs. And virtual cloud cost owner that is KPI'd on cost savings, right, and optimization actions is the core, is the center of distributed cloud cost ownership model. After you've done that piece, then starts that loop, that process that you, Vitaly, mentioned. I
can comment on this. Like, I like the framework, and I can share that before we were having you guys as like our optimization engine, like I can just share some of the challenges that we were facing. It's not only like it's hard to convince engineering teams to implement the optimization. It's also hard for the like centralized FinOps team. First, how do you discover these optimizations and prioritize them? Because like as you said in the beginning, there are like many data sources that you can use. It can be Trusted Advisor, Compute Optimizer. How do you identify what is important for your organization, and how do you make sure that some of the things that are frequently happening. You want to basically, what you want to do is kind of make a smooth process, so that like when we are talking about the RDS, this is like, you can classify this as a like non-negotiable. We are kind of looking at from the point that this is like non-negotiable thing from one hand. From the other hand, it's like it really requires low engineering efforts to kind of eliminate this waste. So it should be streamlined as a priority one, not like a priority one, but more like a group, where like this group, this bucket, or a bucket, which has to be revised frequently, and engineers just like should make sure that there is no waste in this bucket. And then like the delivery problem is also super painful for like FinOps, centralized FinOps team, because like when you're doing this, you're like basically getting all the data from like different sources, merging them, trying to kind of allocate this recommendation to the owner. And then the next question the owner saying to you is like, why is it important? How do I know how much would I save? How do I prioritize this work? Even if the owner actually want to help you, you need to justify that this is important, and you need to kind of quantify on the savings. So automation of this part is like also super important, and like really reducing the toil for the centralized FinOps team.
Yeah, and finally the tracking piece.
Tracking is also like,
yeah, like
it's like
after you delivered, those recommendations to engineering side, then you're waiting, when things will be implemented, and always asking like, hey, was it done? Checking. And in many cases, you really need to engage those engineers in that process, right? Especially in the cases when things are not getting done, you chasing them, asking why they're not getting done, they giving you reasons, you putting those reasons somewhere, or they just like live in many sources in email threads. Sometimes they get forgotten, and at the end, at the end of the quarter, leadership asks you like why this wasn't done, and you start searching if you're not very prepared for that question. So that was always like a problem. And also on this like tracking piece, there is a big area of motivation of engineers to participate in this process. That's where gamification comes from. Today, gamification is very fashionable in FinOps world. But that's also like the piece here that is very important in this process. You agree?
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, like this is actually, that process that we want to enable, and that's what implementation looks like. You first setting up org foundation, then you set up the discovery process, essentially getting all the usage optimization opportunities in one place. That discovery should happen fast. Then you need to be able to deliver things efficiently to engineering side. Now, within this process, we have cloud cost owners, so the receiving side is very well defined, but you also need to send the good information to that receiving side. So there's still like some things that you need to think about, like how to form the projects, as Vitaly, you said, like what context you need to deliver. That should be very thought through. And finally, tracking piece. Once things were implemented or not implemented, which is also very important, you need to track it. And then you need to gamify this whole process so that this cycle goes on and on, generating savings for the company. Now, let's talk about tools. So we have technically 5 minutes, but I think we will go a bit over. Vitaly, tell me if you can.
Yeah, I'm good.
That's awesome. I hope like people who are listening to us also can stay a bit longer, and then we will answer any questions that whoever left has. But let's talk about tools here. On this diagram, when I first was showing it and describing it, I mentioned that there are a lot of tools that participate in the process, essentially in that communication between centralized FinOps team and engineering side. And those are, cloud cost management tools. We all know, Cloudthread, one of them, but there are many, many other. Then there are in-house dashboards, in-house tools. Those tools are mostly targeted at the discovery process. That's how FinOps team gets their insights. But they also targeted at sharing stuff with other stakeholders, including engineering. Then there is the communication piece. After things are discovered, centralized FinOps team needs to send it to engineering side. All the project management platforms, messengers, email, all that is used. And on engineering side, they're mostly like project management platforms. And sometimes engineering side is also making good use of cloud cost management tools and those in-house dashboards, even though this historically has been pretty tough. Usually cloud cost management tools are used mostly by, finance and FinOps people, and those in-house dashboards, at least like at Lyft, I remember our experience. We built like the cloud cost management dashboard for engineers, and it wasn't getting too much use, unfortunately. You had to have like a dedicated team, the task force that was going and actually working with engineers to implement things and enable them to look at those dashboards.
That's why you have to incentivize engineers to look into these dashboards.
Exactly. That's where the gamifications and the dashboards themselves should be kind of like really wired towards this whole process. They shouldn't contain just like top level spend, how much your team is spending today, right? It's the information that is not helpful to engineering team.
Yeah, I think it's basically the role of the centralized FinOps team to set up a dashboard that will solve specific problem. Not like you need to have like the versatility for the engineers to do their own exploration, but for like targeted things like the optimizations, like you can basically set up like dashboards and KPIs, like these are like ongoing kind of all day, not all day, like every like things that we want to make sure that happening like always, but like you can always increase the scope or either for the whole company or like for a set of teams that has more specific use cases, but you want to make sure that some kind of a basic level things are covered, and that's where you need to kind of specify the data and make sure that engineering and centralized FinOps teams are consuming the same data, and there is no basically a wiggle room for them to say like we were not like aware of this.
Yeah, I agree. Like designing those dashboards is a challenge, but once you have a good idea and design something, it can work wonders. Now I suggest looking at more concrete example of the tool stack for distributed cloud cost ownership model, and this is AWS centric. And Vitaly, I'm just like suggesting here, right? So add anything, right, that you use at Align, right? But that's like just an example how that might be looking like, and this is like within that process: discover, deliver, and track. On discovery side, if we using just AWS, let's say, we can use AWS Compute Optimizer, AWS Cost Explorer. We can use all that like Kudos setup, right? Which is very, very useful. I really recommend using Kudos dashboards. They are wonderful. We can also use Trust Advisor that I forgot to put on this presentation. But Trust Advisor is great source of optimization insights, even though it's not as free as Compute Optimizer and Cost Explorer. You actually have to pay for it. But yeah, it's really amazing for usage and rate optimization insights. That's how you discover things using the native stack. Obviously, we can replace this with any cloud cost management tool out there almost, right? And have that right on the discovery side. Then we have the delivery side. And on delivery side, I already named all those things: Slack, Gmail, Google, Microsoft Teams, Jira, ServiceNow. it can be anything, literally, like any communication channel that you use at your organization. And on tracking side, traditionally, it's spreadsheets, right? Spreadsheets are actually wonderful tools. So traditionally, FinOps people are tracking things in Google Sheets or Excel, and I've been doing that myself. At the end, you have like that quarterly savings spreadsheet that you use to prepare that holy grail presentation to the leadership, showing how much was done by your FinOps team. Vitaly, what do you think about this stack? Something critical missing here?
No, I think it's pretty much what we have at Align. We are heavily using the cloud native tools to kind of discover things, and we're using CUDAs to kind of build the dashboards. Super happy with this tool set. Yeah, we're using like delivery tools to kind of establish this communication. Yeah, tracking is in spreadsheet. That's been pretty annoying.
I can imagine. I mean, I've been doing that a lot myself as well. But what would you say, Vitaly, like in this process, are there things that, can be automated, can be, improved? What do you think are those, if you can pinpoint those?
Yeah, so basically, you can automate the transition between the steps here. So how do you move from discovery to delivery? How do you move from delivery to tracking? This is basically this is basically the most time consuming steps or
Essentially,
transitions.
enable this process, right?
Yeah, enable the flow between the states.
Or set up the workflow. And I think this is a good transition to the part devoted to Cloudthread as a tool. That is exactly our focus. We are really focused on this particular workflow where we make discover, deliver, track a really solid, automated, supported process for everybody involved, both FinOps teams and engineers on other end. So this is how the same thing, right? This one looks like with Cloudthread. Essentially, Cloudthread covers all those three stages of the process. The discovery side, we provide all-in dashboard that takes insights from any source out there, right? So all those sources that were on this slide, Compute Optimizer, Cost Explorer, we can get like custom data, we can get data from Trust Advisor, we can get data from other cloud cost management tools. So essentially, we summarize like all the savings insights, but we also create our own. We have like a very big library, more than 60, custom computed AWS optimization insights. The idea is very simple. For the FinOps practitioner who has the task to discover optimization insights, we want to make it as easy as possible. Everything in one dashboard. Things should be, people actually, like FinOps practitioners, should be able to filter those, to prioritize those, we support like all of that. And then moving to the delivery side, we integrate with Jira. We build integration and service now, right now. And this is the idea. At Cloud, like from the dashboard of the optimization opportunities, you can combine them, create mini projects, and then move them through those integrations to cloud cost owners. And this model is really embedded into our tooling. So we have like this idea of cloud cost owner right there. So it's not kind of like a foreign concept. It just works within this model. We try to really enable distributed cloud cost ownership. And then on tracking side, we close this loop. We actually track how things are progressing, how those tickets created are progressing. We're tracking all the communication in between. how much money was saved, right? Every opportunity we show in our original dashboard has like estimated savings. When things were implemented, we calculate how much actually was saved and report back to FinOps team. Any communication that happens in between, context, results, it's all appearing in the platform. And at the end, FinOps practitioner can actually see in a nice dashboard with the results, things that are in progress, things that were done, why certain things were not done, how much money is still on the table, which teams are involved, who are the actors on cloud cost owner side, who are the actors on engineering, like implementation side. So everything is kind of like crystallized there. Vitaly, do you have anything to add to this?
Not really. I mean, yeah, I was just kind of trying to illustrate how time consuming it was before this automation came in. But yeah, it's now been really smooth, and as I said, we started small, not to overwhelm engineers with like you need to act on this 150 things. We started with like 6 simple optimizations, but we are tracking them regularly, and we're basically adding different optimization recommendations, and we are like also playing around with the like ability within the Cloudthread to kind of prioritize it. So it's not everything is a priority 1, and it shouldn't everything shouldn't be a priority 1. There should be some sort of like prioritization so that the engineering teams would understand like how to deal with this.
Yeah, at the end, I wanted to show actually how it looks like, on Cloudthread platform really quickly. Probably like it will take 5 minutes. Let's see. Just to give an idea to people watching how things look like. Let me share my screen right now. Let's see. Okay, here we are. Italy, let me know if you can see my screen. And
not yet.
Not yet, right? Okay. What about right now?
Yep.
You can? Perfect. Yeah, and that's like what I want to demonstrate. You remember the process? Discover, deliver, track, right? 3 major parts, right, in this like cycle. So here you can see the savings dashboard. This is what FinOps practitioners or cloud cost owners for, like seeing for their team, and FinOps practitioners see for the entire organization. And that's where the like savings and like money on the table are getting tracked. From here you can see where you can save money, right? And it's like distributed by categories. Then you can see like what opportunities are assigned, what projects are created. Essentially, this is that part of like the last stage in the cycle of like the track part. That's like where you see what's going on, but also from the discovery piece as well. So it's both the start and like this like end of this like process, and it's pretty nicely demonstrates that it's a cycle, right? It's kind of like going into one point. If we go into the discovery stage specifically, then we have this opportunities explorer, where you can actually discover, like see those optimization opportunities from different sources. For example, here you see like compute optimizer EC2 right sizing, right? Here is the opportunity for $17,000 that was discovered, and you can click into it and see a lot of context in here. So this is the context that will be shared with whoever takes this opportunity, and the idea that this gets propagated through all the stages of the process, instead of Vitaly, for example, taking this and manually sending, or like first of all manually looking on AWS console, right, and taking screenshots and then sending to engineering owner. This is all right here and like very accessible. And anybody, engineering cost owner, engineer who implements, can see like rich context and very easy, you know, like hopefully implement stuff having that. We always enrich the library, you know, like of this context and add more stuff. So if we go back, right, there are like many things, and you can filter them by category, by difficulty, by service. And also you see, like that's what Vitaly mentioned, we have the priority column. As a FinOps practitioner, you can assign different priorities to different opportunities, which is important, right? Because then it goes to engineering cost owner, and engineering cost owner has this data point, what should be prioritized versus what can go later into engineering sprint. Then the concept of delivery starts also from here. Essentially, you can choose multiple opportunities. For example, let's choose compute optimizer, easy to right sizing, right? They are similar, right? And they might be bundled. Why would you send opportunity by opportunity, right? And kind of like a bite size to engineering side if you can send like a bundle of related things as a mini project that is like much more convenient. So you can choose that, and you can create a thread, what we call, right, which is this like idea of bundle, or you can assign it to existing thread from here, right? And when we go to threads, we have like all the threads that exist, and from each thread, you know, like the thread can have like multiple opportunities. You can actually create a Jira workflow and assign it, you know, to Jira ticket, and then the Jira ticket, you know, goes to engineering cost owner. So essentially, it can be done directly from our platform. Then once it's done, we are tracking everything, you know, for the threads. Let's see, we have like here mostly like open threads. If they get moved through the process, the status changes, right, to implementation. The completed things are getting marked as completed. And at the end, on savings dashboard, you can see like this summary, right? We can see how many open threads, how many active threads, how many rejected threads, how many total threads. And you kind of get this like summary statistic and can dive in. Also, we try to enable the gamification part, and we built a team leaderboard for that specific case. A FinOps practitioner can see all the teams on this leaderboard and understand what those teams are doing on the cloud cost management side, and compare the teams with each other. And then the gamification, like AWS gift card, or sorry, AWS Amazon gift cards, right, can be distributed to the teams that are, you know, leading this process. So this is all kind of like baked into the platform. Vitaly, what's your favorite part of this platform?
You know, just the simplification. It's kind of it provides, and a simplification of this routine processes, and yeah, just the amount of free time that my team is getting out of it, so that we can focus on more important stuff, not like parsing Excel and trying to convince engineers to implement this, but having this in like a self-service automated fashion.
Perfect. Yeah. So let me get to the questions. Let me stop sharing. Okay, now let's go. Okay. Vitaly, do you have any questions? First of all.
No, I've been dealing with that already for some time, so I kind of getting the concept.
Yeah, I could see that. That is awesome. Okay, I'm like looking at our console here. Let's see, if anybody has any question, you can just like post it in our chat. I think we are like going like already 20 minutes over time, so people might be like tired, already left. I think it started at 12 here on East Coast, so it was like lunchtime. And on West Coast and on East Coast, it's already late. So people are getting back to work. Okay, I don't think we will have any questions, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to send them to myself or to Vitaly. All our contacts are in the description for this live event, and we will also do a follow-up after it. Vitaly, thank you so much. Yeah, I think it was like very insightful, and yeah, it's really great to see how much progress and great results you're having with distributed cloud cost ownership. I think this is the model that people should be looking at more. I think within like past year, I haven't heard much about it. It's kind of like was thing that we are doing and thinking about, but I think it's time to tell about it to the world and show that seemingly simple changes, right? And in essence, it's just like an additional layer, like that virtual role, which sounds like very simple. It's actually not that simple, right? As we just discussed, to implement, but from pure logical perspective, it's very simple, but it is tremendous how much change it can enable and how many results it can generate on cloud cost management side and lead like to efficiency and savings and all that. So yeah, I would really love the world of cloud of FinOps know about this and talk about this. Man, I hope that next year at FinOpsX in San Diego we will talk about it. We will tell people more. So I think it's actually a good topic for the talk.
Yeah, always happy to talk about this one. True believer that this is a working model, at least for like enterprise size companies. And yeah, reach out to me if you have any questions or any ideas. I can share more details on the implementation. Yeah. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you, Vitaly. It was a pleasure. Okay, see you next time.
See you. Bye.